Hello and welcome to another interesting episode of the Reflection series, where we share stories to recharge and rejuvenate. And today I'm very happy to welcome our guest speaker, Brother Frank from Indonesia. Brother Frank joined the Brahma Kumaris in 1985 and since then went on to become the Joint National Coordinator of Indonesia and Brahma Kumaris, and also held various positions like founding member of the board, honorary financial director of the Brahma Kumaris. Frank is now retired and focuses on running and development of the centers in Bali, as well as acting honorary financial director for a range of charitable NGOs. And Frank also still actively supports software development for NGOs in Indonesia. Quite a unique thing. And today, the topic is the magical meeting. Brother Frank will share his experience of meeting people at the Brahma Kumaris organization for the very first time. And it not only led him into a life-changing experience and gave him insight, but also gave a very strong spiritual foundation, which was there for the rest of his spiritual journey. So we are eagerly looking forward to know what happened when you met the people at the Brahma Kumaris and what magic then followed. So a very warm welcome, Brother Frank, and it's over to you.
Okay, thank you, and welcome to me, yes. Okay, so like a lot of stories, I can start this one with once upon a time. But before we actually talk about that one moment in time, probably give you a little bit about the preliminary. At that time, a few years before that, I'd already started on this spiritual journey, trying to find what I called integrity in business life. I was a businessman. I wasn't an office worker or something like that. I had a company in irrigation, was a builder, We had a pumping equipment and a whole range of different activities. And that was going well, and I enjoyed that. I was a family man. I had a couple of children. I had 3 stepchildren and 1 adopted child. So quite a range. But something was missing. I never really quite knew what it was. I got in touch with souls, which are so-called spiritual, in the early days in India in the 1960s. But like Christianity, I found that very little of it had very much truth in it. And what they told me never, and what they were preaching, it never sounded very accurate or real or truthful, which I was to find out later. I was quite accurate. I just didn't understand. So in the 1970s, I had already taken up a role in Indonesia of helping an international aid agency by the name of the Foster Parents on bringing water to villages. And that was quite rewarding. And it was during that time that I really started to look at doing community service outside of my business life. Because the business life, once you've done it for 5 to 10 years, you know, it's kind of what else is there to do in it. It doesn't really give you a tremendous amount of development. So the community service role was very fulfilling for me at that time. Yet still, there was something missing. I didn't understand what it was, so I'd started on this journey of discovery. Like most people at that era, we start reading all the New Age books. Jonathan Livingston Seagull, Lobsang Rampa, and things like this, you know. And they were good. I mean to say, we even read Bhagavad Gita and books like that, trying to find whatever it was that would give us a fulfillment or a future aim in life. However, of course, I didn't find it in those books. And then in 1985, in the month of June, at the tender age of 47, I came home from the office in the evening. And my wife said to me, have you seen a newspaper today? And I said, no, I haven't. So she showed me an advertisement in a newspaper. Business Integrity Group Meeting, Chamber of Commerce, Melbourne, this evening. And of course, my subject of discussions that I was, and talks that I'd been giving to Chamber of Commerce and Rotary clubs, Lions clubs, was on business integrity. It must have sounded okay because I was invited to go to more places, but still. So my wife said to me, this is the real thing. Why don't you go along? I said, well, I'm getting up in the morning to go to Indonesia because I had booked to go to Indonesia on the Saturday morning. It's a Friday night. Oh, she said, doesn't matter. You get up early every morning, so you should go. Well, now, being someone who never says no to your wife or to her sisters, I always have this, the first thing to keep sisters happy for me would always say yes to everything. And it's very successful for any gentleman listening too. So off I went to the meeting. We arrived in the chamber. There was quite a lot of people there, and mulling around, and they had brochures and tables and books and everything set up. And I picked up a brochure and looked at it. It was on the benefits of being a vegetarian. And I was talking to this young lady there, and I said, I think this is a scam, this whole meeting. She said, why do you think that? Well, I said, this brochure is on vegetarianism, and look at the name of the speakers on the board. Charlie Hogg and Brian Bacon. These are the two speakers. Two forms of pigs. I was going to talk. But she was a bit wiser than me. She said, no, I think it's all right. I think they're okay. We should stay. Which we did. So the meeting started with Charlie getting up and speaking for half an hour. It sounded really good. But I never remember a word he said. But it sounded good. Then Brian got up and spoke for half an hour. It sounded really good. And it was good. But the point was at that time, because I didn't have any spiritual power, I had a lot of business power and that type of thing. I didn't have any power of retention to remember much of anything that was said. He was always thinking of the next thing. But it was good, and I said, this is very good. I like this. And so they said, well, thank you all for coming. This is very nice. But before you go, we would like you to have a meditation experience. A little bit like we had at the start of this little program, guided meditation. So they dimmed the lights, pulled the curtain back, and there was a sister sitting there in a white sari, leading meditation. And they started some music. And at that point, I don't know what happened from then on much. Something happened. Something inside me woke up. It was an amazing experience of spiritual intoxication. Because in the first time in my life, I recognized truth. I knew what I was listening to at that moment was truth. This was the first realization I had. I didn't understand anything. This was too filled up with ego and everything else I was doing in the world, a whole lot of material stuff. But it had the power, as all human souls do, it has the power to recognize truth when you hear it. I already knew what falsehood was because I'd been listening to religious speakers for many years, people like priests. People like Christian brothers and things like this. Angry men who were supposed to be spiritual, but of course they weren't spiritual, they were religious. And I never was able to come to terms with religion because so much of the religious people were false. What they said was not true. So in that moment, I knew I'd found truth. Now we could stop the story there because nothing has changed in the 37 years since that time till today. Nothing. Truth is still the basis of the intoxication that I got at that very moment. But there was another gift to come that night, a little later on. After the meeting and we left, we all went downstairs and had to a coffee shop and had a coffee, about 4 or 5 of us. And I was a bit of an orator because I'd been giving talks, so I probably had a lot to say. And one in the group said to me, you know, you may be able to teach this group something. And I remember saying, you know, I think I'm about to learn. This was the second realization, that everything I had studied till that point of all my years meant nothing. I had to start to study fresh all over again. And I did. And to this day, I still study spiritual content every day. Every day I still do. I still put fresh quality into my mind every morning, first when I wake up, first. Before I go to bed at night, I always clear the mind. They say what you go to bed with is what you wake up with. So I have this cleansing. I won't go into detail now unless you want me to. So these were the 2 gifts I got on that night. And I still hold them very dear in my heart today. Because out of that came enthusiasm and spark. And I feel, even though I'm 84 now, and I guess you need others to confirm this, but I still have that spark, that enthusiasm for life today. I never have a boring day in my life. Not one day do I ever feel I'm bored or I need something to change my life. Another gift I realized I got on that night, but that took a little longer for me to realize, and that was freedom. Yeah. In what context would you say? The biggest freedom I've got was it was okay to be me. That was the biggest freedom. Because all my life, everybody are telling me what I should be. The teachers, the priests, the schools, which I never could come to terms with. And when I went to schools as a young person, I was always asked to leave because I was always in conflict with the Christians. Because I wasn't a Christian soul. It wasn't my deep inside me to be that. But finally, I realized that it was okay to me. And the challenge was, from that point on, to be a better me. And the role was to help everyone else I'd met be a better them, to find happiness in their life. And I'm still basically on that journey today. It's slowed down a bit. I'm not as active as I used to be doing corporate or anything like that anymore. I just help foundations out now, but use my speciality to help everyone. So 5 things came out of this then after that. First was I found a new way of life, which I still live to this day. Based on very simple principles, very simple. The first was everything that I do should have a benefit. Everything. Number 2, keep my zeal and enthusiasm strong. Number 3, do everything in a loving and cooperative way. Number 4, serve everybody. Doesn't matter who they are. Doesn't matter about race, color, creed, religion, whatever. Serve everyone. And the 5th, keep a clear and clean consciousness always. So by doing all these things, I maintain a constant state, constant happiness, constant peace, and my prosperity, because everything I need, I now have. So I remain forever prosperous. So that's the story of my meeting the Brahma Kumari. There's a lot more to what happened after that. I went to the center. In fact, I went to Bali the next morning. I got up early, caught the plane, went to Indonesia. I was supposed to be there for a month because it was June, winter months in Melbourne. So it's when we took holidays. But who wants to be in Melbourne in June, No. So we would go over there. But I came back a week later to join the next meeting of the Business Integrity Group, and then went back to Indonesia. So that, the effect it had on me at that time. Okay.
So beautiful. The way you were sharing it, it felt like it happened just yesterday and not 37 years ago. I can sense that enthusiasm that you said, the spark, it is so there. And yeah. And one of the things that you shared, Brother Frank, about not a single day is boring or dull for you. I think that's something all of us have to learn, because what we see nowadays is it's not about old people, even youngsters as well feel, what should we do? It's not so interesting day, and don't know how can they make their lives more enjoyable in a way, a meaningful life. So what would you say, based on your experience, what tips would you give? How can we keep our day always in that full energy?
Well, I don't know about tips, but I'll tell you what I do. And part of my nature, I think, you see, it's how you see life. I see what I live as a drama. And everything that happens in that drama is a small thing. And every small scene is a story. Like that night. This is just one story. I can tell you a story about just about everything. Sitting here now, talking to you, it's a story. So if you see everything as a story, it's one scene following another scene. There's no real gap. So this I say, use everything you do in a worthwhile way. Everything should have a benefit. And the biggest benefactor of everything you do is yourself. Because you feel good. That, when you help people, and I see one person who's not smiling, smile. That's a reward. It really is, And something that doesn't have to be big things. Be so small. It's like we were cooking this morning. We were cooking a dish called golak. It's bananas cooked in a sugar syrup with a a pudding mix on top. But I just said to the sister cooking, if you want to make it a little better, drop a block of butter into the sugar syrup and it'll give it that rich. Oh, she was so happy. She still improved the quality and it came out beautiful. But just a little thing, huh? And you don't tell people what to do. You just give a few ideas here, or if somebody asks you, give options. Don't just tell them what to do. People don't want to hear that anymore. You just give an idea, an option. I've got one of your friends sitting there with you, often sends me a text message for a cake recipe or something. Just do what people need. Be attuned to what the needs are of everyone and fill them. So for myself, it is very, very simple life. Nothing complex. You keep everything very, very simple. And because in that simplicity, happiness also exists.
Wow. Thank you. I think that's a very wonderful message. Keep it simple and you will be happy. Thank you so much, Brother Frank. And as we usually do, let's go into a little experience of meditation so our viewers can also take benefit of this beautiful spiritual journey.
The power of being lies in its simplicity. Let me just relax and center myself in the awareness that I am pure light existing within the physical dimension. Let me imagine that I am like a beautiful sparkling star, suspended in an enormous realm of matter. I am weightless. I am light. I am peace. And I relax and settle into this peace. And I find that peace of mind begins to soothe even the muscles of this body. Sometimes I stay so focused in the world of doing that I forget the power of just being. This simple exercise of just sensing the soul within and creating that awareness that I am light and that I am peace. This exercise has the power to make me feel more creative, more clear about solutions, more colorful, more alive, and yet it's so simple. All I have to do is make time each day to enter into that beautiful dimension of spiritual awareness. All I have to do is rest in peace and simply exist like the trees exist, like the clouds exist. Let me practice the art of being, and I will find inside that there are beautiful qualities: love, joy, wisdom. And when I dive deeply into these qualities, I begin to experience them so naturally that it's easy to carry them into the world of action, into sound, into movement, into my responsibilities. This simple practice of being brings beautiful colors to my daily life.
So thank you all for joining today. And thank you, Brother Frank, for sharing your wisdom with us. We thoroughly enjoyed it. And if our viewers would like to know more about us, please do visit our website, www.brahmakumaris.org.au. You will find many programs and events listed on our website and the address of our local meditation centers as well. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we will meet you again with another interesting story. Till then, take care, stay safe. Om Shanti.